Today, I'm going to be showing you how to make your very own lightsaber at your house with a few household items. So, let's get into the video. The main body of this lightsaber is going to be made out of a paper towel tube. Now this will work very well for what I'm trying to accomplish here because it's got the right shape and it fits well in your hand for the right size. And then to modify this paper towel tube, I'm going to be using some scissors. Now this will just be used to cut some various gaps and stuff out of it, and also to cut out this small piece of cardboard, which you'll also be needing. To glue it together, I'm going to be using some Elmer's glue, which most people should have, and then to paint it, I'm going to be using some silver paint and some red paint. And then to mark it up and to do some details with, I'm going to be using a black pen. So those are all the things you're going to need to make this project. So now, let's get started. So what I'm going to be doing right now is I'm going to be taking the paper towel tube we have here. I'm going to be drawing that detail that it has on the end. So what that looks like is it kind of angles up like this. As you can see there, I have this little detail outlined out on the end. So now I'm going to cut that off. So I'll show you how to do that. You're just going to take your scissors and cut it on the very edge like this. And then I'm just going to trim this top to make it look nice. So now we have the top piece all dialed down. Make sure to save this for later. The next thing I'm going to be doing is putting this little detail piece back here where it kind of sticks out about ½ an inch from there. So this is where you're going to take your small piece of cardboard and you're just going to cut a tiny little piece out of it that looks about like this. You see, it's about this big. And then what you're going to be doing now is cutting 2 slits in the back of this piece. Right here, and right here. Make sure it's the same height as your piece, as you can see there. And what we're going to be doing is feeding this through after we cut a channel in there, and then bending it backwards. So, just be careful with this step because you don't want to cut yourself. But just take your scissors and cut those lines out. So, I'll be back when I have those cut. Now after I've cut that, you can see I'm easily able to slide a piece of cardboard in and out of that slit. So now you're going to want to take a piece of cardboard just like this that we cut earlier and slide that in the gap. And now make sure it sticks out about just under an inch on each side, so I'm just going to eyeball that on the other side. Then you're going to want to round the corners with your scissors very simply and round off the corners. It's very simple, just make sure you don't have any jagged edges, and try to do your best of your ability. So there you can see we have our nice rounded piece. So what you're going to want to have done is it's going to need to be bent in 2 different areas. So just mark that out. It's going to need to be bent around there, here. So just take your scissors and cut a little slit on the inside of the cardboard. As you can see right here, I'm just sticking my scissors in between the layers. But if you just cut it like that, and along the same other seam, it'll be much easier to bend, and you can also fill it with glue. So now, what you're going to want to do is bend it along those seams. It should be very simple, and it should look something like this. Now, you're going to take your glue, and then just put some in the gaps. Just make sure that you're not gluing it outside of it because then there's no way to get it back inside. Also make sure to put some glue on the inside so it's not going anywhere. And then just put some glue right here and right here. Then fold it like this and wait for the glue to dry. You can see here that it's coming together. Make sure that the angle does not look like this. You want to make sure that it's like this. So the 2 pieces are parallel to each other. Now you might be thinking, do you really have to hold these 2 pieces together until it dries? Well, no you don't. You can take 2 things, like for example, 2 duct tape rolls, and you can just pin the 2 pieces in between them and then wait for it to dry. So that's what I'm going to do. So as you can see right now, the distance between the 2 isn't that great. So I'm going to want it to be more like this, and if you let it dry in that position, then it'll be much better. Now it is a little bit later, and as you can see, this piece is all nice and dry. It's nice and attached there. So you can keep on using some Elmer's glue for the rest of the project, but I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my hot glue gun just because I have that. So if you don't have this, you're more than welcome to use Elmer's glue, but also if you have a hot glue gun, use that. It's a lot easier. And this took a couple hours to dry, so just keep that in mind because you're going to be having to glue a bunch of pieces on. And it's a lot easier to glue with hot glue. So now what we're going to do is take this little offcut from earlier and just trim off these little sharp corners up here because those don't do anything good. And then just trim it lengthwise across here just to get that top gnarled edge off. So now you have a piece looking something like this. And now if you take this piece and you just put it right in here, you want to glue it on once it's about a ½ an inch from the top. Now I've got this piece all glued in up there. So now the next step for me is to do this little box detail on the side, which is just going to be a square of cardboard. And then after that, we can work on some of the other details, like the button here and the other button right below this piece. So what we're going to do right now is cut out a circle that isn't too big or too small. And then the second square is way smaller, so it looks something like this. So here's the first circle, all nice and cut out. So now let's work on the second one. And now you can go ahead and glue these pieces on. So this smaller circle, just put a little bit of glue on the back of it. And then just put it right below this piece, located right there. So that piece is all in place. And then the other piece will be glued on right on the front, just about right here. So go ahead and glue that on. The next step for this is the tiny little box detail that's on the side. So what you're going to do is just take 2 pieces of cardboard that are about this big, just like this. So cut out another one of these, just from your tiny little square of cardboard. Make sure they're about the same size because you're going to be stacking these 2 pieces on top of each other. Just trim it if it's needed. And now you have 2 pieces that are about the same size. So now you can go ahead and put some glue down the middle and then just attach them together, like so. And now you're going to want to position this to where it's about this far down. Again, not too far because you're going to want to have the strips there, but just make sure it's located in the right spot. I'm going to trim it down just a little bit more, so it's like this. And now that gives us the right shape. So now it needs to be glued on just about here. Again, make sure that it's parallel to the side of the piece, like this. So just grab some glue, put it on, and then just attach this piece where it goes. So that'll be right here. As you can see, it's right on the side, like that. Now the next step is to make those 8 or 9 strips that go along here. That will eventually be black. So what you're going to do is take your piece of cardboard, and just make sure it's about a square. So just trim it up. Cut off any of the pieces that you don't think will fit. And then make it the right length. So as you can see, it goes from just below here all the way down to the bottom. So just make sure that it's the right length. So that means I'll have to be cutting this piece just about here. And that gives me the right length to do the strips. So now we need to cut this up into several pieces. So I'll show you how to do that. So I'm going to be dividing this piece up into 6 separate pieces. So an easy way to do that is just to mark it at the middle, just so you know where the middle is. And now you've got 2 pieces, and then you divide each of these into 3, and then you have 6. So see, that side is 3, and then this side is 3. So now we can go ahead and cut it up into our 6 separate strips. So now you've got your 6 strips. And now what you're going to do is you're going to paint these with a little bit of black paint. Now if you don't have black paint, another good option is just to take a Sharpie or any other black marker and just color them with that, and that'll give it a very good, nice effect. We're going to cap up this end. So there we go. Now that's the shape. That looks like it fits nicely. So now just apply some glue and just slip it in the gap. So, the time lapse. Now that the paint on this thing is all nice and dry, what I'm going to do is take these pieces and glue them on. Now try to do your best job of spacing the 6 out evenly. So now, the next step is to put all the details on it. So that includes painting this piece red, drawing a little black details all over the whole thing, and then after we have that done, it's pretty much it. So I'll go ahead and time-lapse me drawing on all those details. After putting all those details on, you can see that this is done. So we've got this little detail here. This is just a gold pen that I used. You can also just use some gold paint. Here's a little bit of wire that I put in there. That's optional. It's just a little thing that turns it on. And right here, we got that button. Those 2 details up here, and this little black strip. And then there's a little circle on top of this piece. So yeah, that is how to make your very own lightsaber. If you like this video, make sure to head over to my YouTube channel at RJR Productions so you can find a little more complicated videos like this armor I'm showing you. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.